Okay, I've recreated. Here we are, part two. I did put Dave in the invite, and so we're going to see what happens next. This is the ORIN Oracles Live, and I spent an hour in part one with myself and many friends who were watching, who were listening, and making comments. And we were waiting for Dave. And so I've recreated it all so that we can see what happens next. So, Dave, are you there? Maximilian and Michelle are here. And so we're going to continue. This is part two of today's broadcast of the ORIN Oracles. And so welcome. Welcome to part two. So I'm going to wait for Dave, but in the meantime, I'll do a couple of commercials since we're at the top of the hour, commercial break time. Ha! Word from our sponsors. So I just want to mention again, for anybody who's interested, on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Central Time, I'm going to be the guest on Lola Live. She does a YouTube show each week. I discovered her because allegedly Dave Moore was a guest, and he put that up on his channel, and that's how I learned about her. And so, Dave, there you are watching. Now I have you in the queue. You're the only one that's been invited in. So, you know, as you appear, I'm waiting to add you. I have invited you. You're the only one invited. So, God, I hope you figure it out, bro. I do. Because, you know, this has been a dream for me to have you on this show. It really has, you know, so I'll just be patient. Shane's here, you know, so people are here. People are coming in. Michelle's back. So, yeah, anyway, Dave, if you can hear me, I don't know what else to do. You're in the queue. And no notification of invite. I don't know. Geez, man. You know, let me try it again. Okay, I just hit the invite button again. So, should be there, Dave. I don't know what else. I don't, you know. I have a notification that I was invited to watch. No, you're invited to join the conversation by my end, you know. That's the cue. Let me try something else. Try it again. See if we can okay. Hang on. Okay. Ha! Bingo! I think we're finally there, man. seems to be a delay on my camera as it appears. So we'll just see. Let's take a moment to breathe. Oh, it says it's connecting. Ah, there he is.
Hello there.
Uh-oh. Oh, there you are. Hang on. Nice to see you, bro.
Finally.
Well, and you know, being joined here by Babaji. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I've
doing good?
just had to find my I don't know if you can hear me, but I just had to find my Kindle.
I can hear you.
And
yeah,
I just had to find my Kindle, and I got it fired up, and then I got the invite that just pops up on the screen here. So all good fun.
Well, all good fun, man. You know, this is a part of the experience. You know, that's what I love about doing this, is that I never know. Like having Baba G trying to steal the camera. And, you know, my video right now keeps looking choppy. I don't know what it looks like out there, but to me it looks choppy. So
yeah, you're
tell us some stuff, Dave.
Listen.
I'm going to give the mic to you.
Some stuff.
Go ahead and share some. Yeah, share some stuff, man. You know, I first want to just remind you that you're the one who led me to the urine therapy, and it's been a year for me now. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Cheers.
It's been nearly 8 years for me, and it's been quite a roller coaster ride. So yeah, it's been brilliant.
Yeah, and you were introduced in a strange way.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a strange way. I went to a festival, and it just so happened that I was very sick at the time. I didn't really realise I was sick, but I went along to this festival, and this woman was going to do a talk about, amongst other things, urine therapy. And yeah, you know, we all knew that she was going to talk about so we kind of all walked in there with our arms folded, you know, kind of like, tell us about drinking your piss, wee lady. And she just laid it all out, and we were like stunned. We watched this talk, and she was making sense. And what sealed it for me was she brought along a friend who his name was Flo, and he he'd been suffering from asthma for, you know, all his life. And, you know, he said within the first 10 minutes of drinking his urine, you know, his asthma attack disappeared. And, you know, after a little while, he never got asthma again. And for me, as a lifelong asthma sufferer, that hooked me. So all five of us of my little group, we walked out of that talk, and we all vowed to start the next day, and we all did. And again, to my knowledge, all five of us are still doing it to this day.
Awesome. And tell us all of the positive effects. Tell us your experience. I mean, what body changes, things like that occurred for you besides the asthma.
Okay. Well, before I started, I was in quite a bad way. I was nearly 20 stone, which is 285 pounds, something like that. I was, as I said, I was asthmatic. I was dreadfully asthmatic since I was a child. my lungs were the lungs of a 70-year-old. I had my last fire department medical. They said they were going to have to take me off using the breathing apparatus because my lungs were so bad. So yeah, so my lungs were completely shot. I had back problems such that I couldn't stand up straight for any length of time without having to sort of, you know, bend over and stretch my back. I couldn't raise my my arm above shoulder height because my shoulder joint was like, you know, crunching. It was you know, grinding against something. I had high blood pressure, seriously high blood pressure into the stroke region. I had high cholesterol. I had I had nerve damage on the side of my foot, and pain up the back of my leg from an Achilles tendon operation. The nerve damage was like painful pins and needles every, you know, 10 steps or something. I get this stab of pain. And the pain up the back of the leg was this kind of omnipresent dull ache that was it was quite painful, but it was this like dull ache that was there, been there for 4 years non-stop. Yeah, there was a couple of other things and I just can't remember them offhand, but yeah, that was pretty much as it was. And the weird thing was, at the time, I actually considered myself quite healthy. You know, I'd just accepted everything that was part of me, and you know, just said, okay, put that aside. But apart from all that stuff, I feel quite healthy. It wasn't until I started the urine therapy that I realised how sick I actually was. So when I started the urine therapy, the very first thing that happened, was that I had this massive bowel movement, and that's when I realised that I was constipated. So yeah, so
most people don't accept that they're full of shit.
Well, that's true, and I was one of those people, and yeah, it was just like all of a sudden I was like 10 pounds lighter or something. So
Yeah.
about 10 minutes after that, I had this amazing feeling of well-being and energy and lightness. So I was like bounding along the road, on my way to work, saying good morning to everybody, and just feeling amazing. And over the course of a year, my asthma started to, you know, peter out, as it were. So I wasn't having as many attacks, and the kind of general wheeziness that you have as an asthmatic just kind of eased off. And it wasn't until I started the 30-day urine fast that everything dramatically changed. So things were changing, you know, on a nice sort of easy pace. But when I started the urine fast, everything just went into overdrive. I got 4 days into it, 4 days into the fast, and I was walking. I usually used to take a walk, you know, just an easy walk, maybe a couple of miles. And on this walk, I had this urge to run. Now, because of my asthma, I very rarely run. I used to play football, and my thing was I'd hang around the halfway line, and whenever the ball came anywhere near me, I'd do one run of 50 yards, make my attempts at scoring a goal, and that was me out for the next 10 minutes or so. So, but I'd never run usually. So this day I had this urge to run, and I ran for half a mile, you know, like flat out for half a mile. And I got to the end of it, and I was like, wow, I can still breathe. What's going on? And I'd realized my lungs had come back. and to the point where I didn't have that, and asthma sufferers will know what I'm talking about, that even when you're feeling well, at the bottom of your breath is this wheeze and a rattle, and this crackling that's always there. Well, that had gone. I mean, completely. And then I noticed that the nerve damage was gone. I was like stamping my foot, and I couldn't get that painful pins and needles. And then I realised that the pain in the back of my had gone. And this was only 4 days into the fast. As I got further into the fast, I realised that my weight was just dropping off, and I really hadn't noticed. It was only when my girlfriend at the time, I hadn't seen her for a week. She was away for a week. She came round and she was shocked. She said, "Where are you? Where's the rest of you?" It was just amazing. And I went in 7 belt notches in that 30 days. And I still have the belt, so I show it off to people where you can see all the lines down the belt.
Yeah.
And I ended up having
I've seen the
to drill
belt.
2 more holes. Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen your belt.
Yeah, okay.
It is dramatic.
Yeah. And so far, I mean, this is what is it? It's what, nearly 7 years, 7 years on from that time. The weight hasn't come back on. I mean, I've put on some weight since then, but the weight stayed off because I wasn't trying to lose the weight. I wasn't making an effort to lose weight. It just naturally sort of disappeared from me. And I'm still roughly at my ideal weight 7 years later on. And I'm not trying.
Yeah.
It's just that the urine therapy has changed my appetite. It's dealt with all my addictions, including my terrible chocolate addiction. Nowadays, I don't have chocolate at all, which is incredible for me because I used to really love it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a saint. Every now and again, I will have a bit of chocolate, and I've still got a bit of a weakness for chips, as in English proper chips.
French fries.
No, not French fries. They're those skinny, horrible things. No, proper lumpy chip things. Yeah. So I still have a little weakness for them. But yeah, all the addictions have gone, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can relate to the breathing thing because I had COPD. I had one of those steroidal puppers, and I had that same wheeze. I mean, when I'd lay in bed at night, I would, you could just hear, the stress, in the breathing. And that all too. I mean, everything that ever ailed me. Now I corrected all of that in my urine therapy. Now I still, to be realistic, I have had degenerative disc disease for a good portion of my life. That was the source of my most chronic pain. Now, I still have those little glimpses, like I'll just turn in bed and all of a sudden I'll just, feel that little, like that nerve going ding, But here's what I recognize, that it took me a lifetime of that injury to get to the severity that it was. And it is healing. I know it's healing. That shit doesn't just go away overnight, none of it. That I always tell everybody that every body is different. You have to trust your own instincts, listen to your own body, do the P works. I have yet to find anybody that could prove me otherwise. even though there's naysayers. Oh yeah, I did the pee, it didn't work for me. Well, whatever, you know.
Well, they didn't do it then. That's the point. If
Yeah,
it didn't work for them, they didn't do it.
right. Yeah, that's my feeling. You know, if they lie about that, they'll lie about other things as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even saying about lying. I'm saying that, some people hear what we're saying and they think, well, okay, well, I'll take a little teaspoonful of it, or I'll take a sip and do that a few days, and oh no, well, the thing that I've been suffering from for 20 years hasn't gone away because I've had 3 sips of wee, so it must not work.
Right,
Most of the
right,
time when people
right.
say to me
Yeah,
that, oh, it's not worked for me, I said, well, I'll say, what are you doing? And it turns out they're not actually doing urine therapy. They're sort of, pretending to do it, as it were. you know.
yeah. Now, a comment that just came up, which you might want to talk about, from Ozan, says, Dave, we're waiting for your new language research video. Hope to watch it soon. Got any comment on that?
Right. Yeah. Well, my son has been sort of pushing me on that one as well. Yeah, I've literally got. This is where it gets hard. I get something in the order of 30 or 40 help requests every day from people, and and for some strange reason, just this last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of people with cancer. So I've got a stack of things I have to do, including that video. I've got a video about the truth behind Jesus to do, and I've got 2 more other videos I've got to do. They're all in the works. I've got a talk to write. Well, now I've got 2 talks to write, and as I said, every single day I have all these help requests, and I have to prioritize the help requests as well. So even the people ask for help, sometimes it's like 3 days before I get to them. It's just, I'm a one-man band, and I've I've only got 2 pair of
Yeah,
hands, and
I can
sorry,
so relate because I said I can relate because my experience is becoming exponential as well. And I get a lot of requests. I mean, people are wanting video chats and they PM me, and I welcome it. I welcome everybody to ask whatever they like. I mean, I make myself as available as possible. And like I know, if you're a video producer, it requires a lot of concentration, a lot of time. Writing requires time. All of these things require an awful lot of time and dedication, and like you, I'm a one-man band, I mean, it's, and
yeah,
orchestrating a one-man band, you got to be a good conductor.
exactly. It takes me sometimes up to 3 days to write a health plan, because when they come to me with a list of medications, literally I've got to go through and research every one of those medications to see what they do, how they'll respond, and then figure out the way to transition off of them. Yeah, so I don't just cut and paste
Right.
something and say, oh, there you go. Every one of them, it means me sitting there and reading through it, and writing a customized health plan for somebody. And it takes a long time and a lot of effort on my typing finger. Yeah. so
Right.
so
Yeah. I happen to have 2.
so oh, right, yeah, you've mastered that 2-finger typing business. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I
quite there.
got
No,
2.
I do the 2 fingers. Yeah, but my main one. But yeah,
Yeah.
I will get to the video, because it's really exciting research, and I'm really actually enjoying putting it together. But it's just there doesn't seem to be much time these days. You know, I get started on something and then it's night time and but where did the day go? You know, so yeah, I'm sorry guys, I'll get to it as soon as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I give the same response because I don't know. You know, if people ask me about certain drugs, this, that, and the other, you know, and they come on to the High Vibe Tribe and they ask, and I say, well, be patient. It's not my area. You know, this is just not something I have any knowledge about or expertise in. And so I don't want to lead people astray. You know, there's so many people in the urine universe that have these kind of knowledges. Not another person that is extremely thorough, like yourself, is Monica Shute, aka Changa Charanga. Now, if you ever look at her responses to anything, they are so deep, so thorough, so well considered, because she is a perfectionist. And people go, where's she been lately? Well, I know that she is finishing her book, and being the perfectionist she is, she takes a lot of time to, you know, make sure that what she is producing is complete. You know, so I really understand. You know, I mean, everything that we, you know, I mean, collectively, whatever anybody is out there doing to promote and bring forth this knowledge, it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of attention, a lot of fortitude.
Yes. Yeah, I yes, totally agree. And Monica's amazing. Absolutely. I mean, I was lucky enough to meet her a couple of years ago. We hung out for a weekend or something, and you know, she is amazing. She is a real deal. And you do feel like you're in the presence of a, you know, 16, 17-year-old. You know, she's got, you know, even got that energy about her. But yeah, it does take a lot of work. I'm also writing my website, rebuilding my website, and I'm trying to do it properly and putting on as much information and knowledge as I can onto it. And it takes a long time to just sit and write it all. I might as well have written another book, you know. So
no,
yeah.
I'm in the same position right now with my book into the publisher. And I'm using Lulu. That's what you used too, right? When you published your book was Lulu. So, you know, all of the presets are in my downloads now, which require a lot of attention for me to consider, you know, to build the book, really. They do have the my cats are tripping. I do have the manuscript, and Monica Shute did write the foreword, and so those two documents are in, and I have a coordinator. And I trust you probably had the same experience. Can you tell me about your experience with Lulu?
Writing my book. Yeah, with Lulu, it's been easy actually. I don't know if the wind is bothering you, if you can hear it, but
I can hear you okay. The wind comes in a little bit, but it's not drowning you out.
Okay. Yeah, Lulu was quite easy. It's just, you know, again, it was a one-man band, so I didn't have people helping me with that stuff. I did have a friend offer to proofread for me, and he did. But then I made changes, and I didn't get him to proofread it, and then I had to go and proofread it again myself. And by the time I'd finished, I found there was a whole lot of stuff that I'd missed out, and I really should have put in there. So I had to do a second edition, and that was a pain in itself. And since then, because I wrote it along quite a while ago, I found the flat Earth after that. So now I get people saying, "Hang on a second, there's a globe on the front." You know.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's you know, that's what's curious, and you know, in how I really discovered you because I was investigating into flat Earth, and when I found your videos, that's what actually led me to the urine therapy, because I was watching you on a European television show in an interview about flat Earth, and I found it so fascinating. And then as I kept looking at more of your videos, then I found you and Andrew Norton Weber on a radio interview. And that's when, and you're talking distilled water, and then all of a sudden it turned to urine therapy, and I was like, what? You know, wait a minute, what did he just say? So, you know, here I am 1 year later, man, and celebrating my anniversary on this very day with, you know, you're like my superhero, bro.
Oh, shut up. No, it's been quite a ride, and I was doing a talk. A talk I was kind of made up on the cuff at a meeting, and I was saying how that we think of ourselves as being very small in this world, very small, very insignificant, you know, a tiny voice, you know, in a world of 7 billion people, yeah. But the point I was trying to make in that talk was that we're actually huge and the world is small, yeah. We have a huge effect on this world. And we don't realize that effect because obviously we don't get an awful lot of feedback from the world, but you never know how much of an effect you're having on it. And it's only recently now that amongst the help requests, I'm getting a lot of emails from people who are saying, you know, a similar thing as you're saying, that they watched a video of mine and they went off and started, and it's changed their life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very exciting that you know you're actually a huge force in this world, and most people don't realize it. You know, they think of themselves as little me, you know, with no power, no influence, no nothing. But each one of us has this you know, huge footprint in the world that that you don't realize you have.
Yeah. Well, this is, you know, this is where I finally came clear on my my mission, really, quite frankly. Yeah, and I put it in a simple statement, my purpose, and that was just to guide people to their own awakening of their own possibility, their own power, and have them recognize that everything that they're looking for, they're just looking in the wrong direction. You just need to look inside. You know, discover the miracle and the magic of yourself. Nobody was given any less opportunity, regardless of their situation, their conditions, or anything else. It's just a matter of understanding the tools, how they work, and use them. That's really the bottom line. And
I don't know. I think there's a more fundamental way of putting it as well. Yeah, the very first thing is to realize your own power. That's it. As soon as you start to realize that you know you are more, everything becomes possible. Yeah.
right.
And I had a bit of guidance as. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, as I said earlier, you can lead people to knowledge, but you can't make them think.
Exactly. Well, I had similar guidance on what my purpose was. It was one of those little processes that allow your subconscious to sort of actually speak for you. So somebody guided me through this process. And it was kind of like meditation type sort of thing, where I essentially asked this imaginary person in my mind, I started asking them questions, and I asked them what my purpose was, and the answer came back very, very quickly and very sort of you know, without hesitation, and it was to help and inspire by just being you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think my subconscious was jipping me, because I think that's everybody's purpose. That's everybody's. That's the same purpose that everybody has. Yeah.
Yeah,
and yeah, I
I
thought
totally
after
agree.
that, I thought to myself, well, I can do that. I can be me. I know how to do that. So
Yeah,
that's it. I've just been me.
yeah. Yeah, and I celebrate you for that. I honor you for that because that's what appealed to me from the very beginning of watching your videos and listening to you is your calmness, your natural state, you know, your intelligence, because you're quite an explorer, you know, with research that you do and interests you have. You know, it's fascinating to me, you know, how diverse your intelligence is and how much dedication you have to your own awakening, your own awareness, and things that interest you. I think that that is the gift. It's totally
Well,
beautiful.
again, I don't think I'm anything special, to be honest. I think what is special, and I'll backtrack a second. I'll give you an example from the story of my son, actually. He was an Xbox addict, okay? So every waking moment, and he was, I think he was, this time he was about 11, yeah? Every waking moment he'd be on the Xbox. If he wasn't on it, he'd be thinking about it, you know, and, you know, all his friends were on there and literally, you know, his mind was in Xbox mode. And then it broke. Actually, the first time it broke, he actually figured out how to repair it. He took it apart and started soldering stuff, and he repaired it, which I thought was amazing anyway. But the second time it broke, it was irreparable, and I refused to get him another one. And after about 2 weeks or so of withdrawal symptoms, he actually discovered he had an interest in music. Just, you know, he became aware of himself and realized that he is interested in music. And within a month, he taught himself how to play keyboards. He had written a whole bunch of songs. He had his first album out on iTunes.
Wow.
A little later on, he became a registered manager. Yeah, they didn't know he was, you know, 11 or 12 at the time. Became a registered manager. And then he liberated a few of his other friends off of the Xbox, formed them into a group, and then started coaching them, and took them to photo shoots and studios, and just
Wow.
molded this group. And he had a production company, and he's now these days he's a battle rapper, and some of you have heard him. He's Red Flag Media on YouTube. But because he was into the Xbox, that literally cut off his creative abilities, his awareness of himself, because he'd been distracted into this whole other world. Yeah. And he wasn't allowing himself to find himself. And I think that this whole society is about that. And if it's not the Xbox, it's the television, or it's work, or it's making money on the stock market, or it's whatever. Yeah, it's all these distractions to keep you from being you. And as soon as you get
Yes.
rid of those distractions and you go through the period of you know, withdrawal symptoms, then you find yourself, and you find you're interested in things, and you get passionate about things. And it's that passion, when you get that passion about something, that turns you into an expert about it. Yeah. And
Yes.
you know, the naysayers will always say, well, you're not an expert about on whatever it is you're talking about. But you know what, you become one. Yeah. If you've
Yes.
got the passion for it, you become more of an expert than those people who are just in it because they did a bunch of studying, and they'll get a paycheck out of it. Yeah.
Right.
Your passion will dig you deeper into it, and it will settle on your heart, you know, more deeply than having to do it for a job. Um, and
Right.
and and it's been borne out, because at school I couldn't remember a damn thing. You know, the only thing I remember from school was 1066. You know, that's about it. But I have got so much information about all this stuff I've been studying that I can just like instantly recall. It's incredible. I couldn't do that at school. And I think the only
Right.
difference is the passion.
Right. Well, I experienced that myself. I failed in school completely. I mean, I had to do summer school every year just to, fake my way into the next level, which, was equally as boring as the last level. But, when I really found my passion, which initially was culinary arts, I excelled, and I was a 4-point student in the cooking school, and then broadcasting school, film school. I was an excelled student because I was passionate about it, and it does make a difference because most people don't realize how subdued they are in the indoctrination process. You're
Hmm.
just being forced to memorize a bunch of facts of things that are really insignificant, and they don't teach anything in creative thinking. They don't teach anything in finding your real source or discovering your passion. I mean, the things that are really valuable, are completely ignored on purpose, by design,
Hmm.
you know. So, it
Yeah,
takes a lot for any individual to wake up, and realize that they are unlimited, that their potential
yeah,
is just extraordinary. Now,
yes.
I've been
Uh,
rereading a book that I've been rereading this book that was made, oh God, back in the 90s, I think, called The Artist's Way. And, the whole exercise, it's a workshop book, and the whole exercise is to get your blocks out of the way, which are ourselves, and we keep looking outside, because the people that are making us crazy, the distractions, the job, the husband, the wife, the kids, the dog, the this, the that, they're just ways that we ignore, what's really burning inside us. And if we don't, do something to bring that little dwindling, dim flame into a brighter light, we're just going to end up totally frustrated, angry, fearful, and dislodged from
mhm.
our potential.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There was a conversation on Facebook that I kind of joined in. Um, there's something to do with schools and what if your children are doing badly in school or something. And I relayed this story that when my son, who's doing really well at school at one point, and then all of a sudden his grades started dropping, and he just kind of lost interest in school. And I was kind of drafted in to maybe go to school and talk to teachers and all that stuff. And I found that I'd split into two people. There was Muggle Dave, who was like thinking, well, you've got to get your keep your grades up and get a good, well, good sort of results in your exams so you could get a good job, and yeah. And there was the other conspiracy Dave who was saying it's all bullshit, you know. just
Yeah.
just tell them all to fuck off, yeah, because it doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. So I ended up the middle way, and I basically said to my son that you know what, yes, you're right, it's all meaningless, it's all bullshit. Everything that they're
Yeah.
teaching you, all this stuff you're learning, it's all bullshit, right? But you got to play the game. Just play the game, put your head down, pretend you're getting into all this stuff, yeah, until you can get the hell out of there, yeah. Because
Yeah.
your life only starts as soon as you leave there. Your learning only starts as soon as you leave school. Um, and then the
Right.
conversation shifted to how much these muggles that were on this conversation were saying how much you actually do need qualifications. And I had to disagree because from my own experience, I've got I was
Yes.
it's going to sound like I'm boasting, but I got to the top of my profession as a computer programmer, um, and I've got no qualifications whatsoever in it, whatsoever. I taught myself how to. passion to do it. And I got really excited about what I was doing. And there was a moment where I realized that I was, again, this is going to sound conceited, but I was the best in the world at what I did, because I ended up at a conference with all the big names in programming there. And I was showing them my work, and they were going, "How do you do that?" One guy said, looked at my work and said, "How did you do that?" I said, "I read your book." You know, so and all in all the jobs that I've done, I've not had a single you know, qualification to do it, and I've done some really sort of quite amazing jobs, really. And what I've realised is that everybody has this ability to do anything. It's just this society has narrowed your thinking. You know, when you get to the age of 13, at least in England, you get to the age of 13, you're essentially presented with a list of jobs that you're able to do. Yeah, it's called your options. Yeah, they say you've got to choose your options.
Yeah.
Which subjects are you going to be studying for the next few years? Yeah, which then determines what sort of jobs you're going to be able to do. Yeah, so they give you this narrow list of jobs and say, okay, choose which job you're going to do for the rest of your life. Yeah, and people go ahead and do it, not realizing that that list is infinite, and you're just being shown a tiny subset that they think you're allowed to do. But that list is infinite, and all it takes for you to become an expert is your passion.
I actually had the same experience, because by the time I was in my sophomore year, 10th grade, 15 years old, I mean, I was just I was a complete fuck up. I mean, I just had no interest in school. I didn't care at all. And so there was an offering for me in my junior year to start going to a vocational opportunity, which was at Seattle Community College. Now, that list of options was auto mechanics, welding, computers. You know, it was about a list of 10 options. And the only one I resonated to was the commercial cooking. And I actually started in commercial baking and then went to commercial cooking. So, and it was a passion. So, you know, I did find in that short list, you know, something that was an inspiration to me from the, you know, to get me out of my disillusionment and my limitation, which I self-imposed. Now, I have a couple of questions that have been coming in. That are directed towards you, Dave. And so I'll just, before they disappear completely, somebody asked, they wanted to know what your opinion about salt, and another was asking what you eat in a day. So if you could maybe answer both those questions.
Right. Well, I might have to move because it's now just started raining really heavily.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if you're able to hear me. Okay, above the rain. Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you. I still hear you.
Okay. All right, good. Right. Well, salt is a inorganic mineral, and literally, you know, the so-called salts in your body are not the same as table salt or even Himalayan sea salt or anything like that. Yeah, salts essentially are inorganic minerals that, you know, drinking distilled water is there to try and get rid of. So it really annoys me when people start saying, well, I drink distilled water, but I put some Himalayan sea salt in there to give the minerals. You know, the point of drinking the distilled water is to get rid of that stuff you're putting in there. Yeah. So yeah, salt is a bad thing, and the confusion comes when, you know, when they say that oh yeah, your body needs salts and stuff. Well, the things that your body needs that you think of as salt aren't salt. Just like when they talk about sugar, yeah, and then they try and equate sugar with the sweetness in fruit. Yeah, they're two separate, totally separate things with separate properties. Yeah,
Right.
so that to cut a long story short, your body doesn't need salt. You know, in any sort of inorganic form that they sort of want to give you, basically.
I
Now, sorry.
I just saw one of those little angry, you know, the button you push for angry. I think somebody didn't like your answer. I don't know.
Well, that's tough. I'm sorry, it's just tough. I mean, that's the way it's the way it actually is. Yeah, these inorganic minerals are the cause of a whole heap of problems in the body, and
Yes.
and just like everything else, it's not going to affect you straight away. You know, you're not going to eat something really salty and then have arthritis next day. Yeah, that way
Right.
you can actually correlate it. No, what happens is you have it, nothing happens. You have it again, nothing happens. You have it for a year, nothing happens. But 5, 10, 15 years down the line, you've got arthritis and you go, well, where did I get that from? Yeah, it's just
Right.
the way it is. So, you know, if you don't like it, I'm sorry, tough. The second
Well,
question
and
as to my diet. Oh, sorry, yeah, go on.
yes. No, finish.
Oh, okay. The second question as to my diet, generally, well, is fruit generally. While I've been here, it's been almost exclusively grapefruit. But you might, some of the sharp-eyed amongst you might have noticed that I'm eating chips. My mum just came along to feed my chip addiction and gave me a little plate of chips. But that's a rare occurrence. I've had it. I say it rare here. It's maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks or something. When I'm back in England, it's even rarer. But generally, my diet is fruit and nuts, and pretty much that's it. And I have the odd, you know, dalliance into chips and I don't know. Lentil chips I've had a couple of, you know, but it's mainly fruit, and that's what I advise people anyway, to stick with mainly fruit and the occasional light leafy green salad. That's it.
Yeah. And I you know, my predominance myself is fruit, but um, since I've been here in you know, experiencing like really, I mean, some extreme cold and all that. You know, there's times that I just seek the comfort of cooked food. You know, so I make rice and beans or things like that. You know, and so you know, my general response to people regarding diet is trust your own
Mm.
body, trust your experience.
Yeah.
You know, like what you were saying that you kind of found your happy medium in weight. I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, my highest weight was 246 pounds. My lowest weight when I was on my 14-day fast, I went down to 144 pounds. Now, you know, it wasn't all overnight, but that's a 102-pound difference from the top to the bottom. And now my body is
Mm.
leveled up and I'm right around 165, which feels perfectly natural for me. It feels like my ideal weight. And so I always tell people, hey, it's not as important about what you eat, it's what's eating you, because the body will store that
Mm-hmm.
stress always. You know, I mean, and that's unconditional. I mean, certainly we can poison ourselves with many elements, but the mind can poison us and our heart can poison us in equally as much fashion in a distress or stress mode. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I keep saying to people that the mind overrides everything. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you start doing urine therapy if you don't believe it's going to work for you. Yeah.
Right.
It's called the
Yeah.
nocebo effect. Yeah. If you believe you're going to die in 3 months, yeah, well, you know, if you really believe it, then your body's going to find some way of making it happen.
Right.
So, it's actually, you know, when I wrote my book, um, basically urine therapy is just one part of the process that I found. Um, One of the biggest parts is changing the way you think, because all illnesses, all so-called illnesses and diseases and ailments, they all begin in the mind. They all begin with a thought pattern that essentially turns into, there it is. Yeah.
Little promo for you, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, all illnesses start with a thought pattern that turns into an emotion, and an emotion is just a set of hormones and chemicals that's whizzing around in your body that you feel as an emotion. But those chemicals affect your body in various ways. And if you're in chronic states of emotion, which are really only there for emergency reasons, yeah, when you're in chronic states of emotion, then those chemicals have a longer lasting effect that, you know, is detrimental usually. So if you try and heal the body without dealing with the chronic states of emotion, then you're either going to hinder that healing, or it's just going to re-trigger it later on down the line. So you've got to
Right.
treat the body holistically.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's the really kind of part of my general approach to do what I do, which I give myself credit. I call it motivational healing. You know, that I'm a
Mm-hmm.
motivational healer, because I can say I'm a healer because I healed myself. And, you know, I have a certain, you know, gift, I suppose, to inspire and motivate people. So I do. But all I want to motivate them on is themselves, you know, to quit. You know, I'm not setting it up so that they, you know, at the end of the free seminar, go to the back of the room and for $1,000 you can get, you know, which is how most things are set up. I mean, I give away my experience, you know, because it's a gift and I share the gift, and that's all. You know, I just share the gift, you know. So
Right.
it is a important factor, the holistic approach. The mind, the heart, and spirit, and the body, they're all connected. You have to pay attention in a
Mm-hmm.
cognizant way to raise your awareness if you want to be awakened to the potential that lives within inside. And we all have that potential.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed. You know, you were saying about you know, you have to share this. I've noticed there are a few people. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are a few people who are taking this knowledge and you know, thinking of it as a cash cow, essentially. And in the process, they're taking this knowledge, adding their own special sauce to it, so that they can sell something. There's one person actually asked me to come on a show with him. You know, just he was doing some kind of radio show broadcast, and we had this 3-hour show about health and my approach and stuff. And the show never materialized. Yeah, there was no show. It never went out anywhere. But then I did notice that this guy basically started saying all the stuff that I was saying that I said to him, and he's now selling these seminars that he's doing, or consultancies, and you know, I'm pretty sure that he's doing it based on everything I was telling him. I'm not going to say his name because there are a few people who know this person, but you know, I think I don't feel badly about it. I just think it's dishonest when, you know, this knowledge is free. You know, it's knowledge of self more than anything, and for
Yes.
somebody to try and to sell knowledge of self is
Yeah.
you know, I
No,
think it's
I totally
dishonest.
agree. No, and that's you know, in the earlier part one of this two-part series, you know, I made mention of that. You know, is that it's all the gift. You know, I mean, and I'm putting my book up, but that's, you know, just like you. I mean, hey, it costs to make the book, and you know that there's work involved in that, and it's not, you know, I'm not making any big deal about it. It's just, you know, an effort to share my artistry, which poetry is, and I accept that. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that there's so many modalities that all require, whether they're services or products, that require an investment, and P doesn't. P is free, and that's why I really
Right.
like it, and it works for me. Now, you know,
Well,
we have a question here about healing broken bones with urine therapy.
okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I could give an answer to that, but you go ahead, please.
All right. I will answer something you just said as well. My book is out there. Yeah, it's and you know, you have to buy it, obviously. But at the same time, I've put out at least one video specifically, which gives all the information that's pretty much in the book. It's called the Human Body Workshop. You know, go to it. It's like 2 hours long, and it basically lays out everything that I say in the book. There's more detail in the book, but if you don't want to go and buy a book, I'm telling you, you know, there it is. Go and
Yeah,
watch the video. And beyond that, if somebody wants specific information, they can just call me and I'll talk to them, tell them
right. Me
everything
too.
they need to know.
Yeah,
So
me too.
it don't, you know, if they don't want to, if you don't want to buy the book, then you know, but there again, there's this, you know, it does support me a bit, you know, the book, but I don't get an awful lot of money from it. You know, it's Lulu that takes a big wedge, and everybody else who comes in and takes most of it. So you only get a little bit from it. So, but
Yeah,
there you go. So uh, healing broken bones. Well, first of all, you don't need a hospital or anything to do that. People have been setting bones, you know, forever. It's not a hard chore, really. It's just putting the bone back in its place and immobilizing it. But what you can add to that is urine therapy. You add a urine pack to that process, which is covering a rag or dressing with urine, placing it around the reset bone, yeah, and keeping it sort of immobile, keeping it moist with urine, and keeping it warm, and that's it. It will heal in no time, whereas it will take a few weeks. It might take you know, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, maybe three. I don't know, but it will take a lot less than, you know, going to the hospital, having a cast put on it, which means your arm suddenly turns like super weak, and yeah,
yeah.
so yeah,
Well,
it's an easy process.
and I had a personal experience with this, and this is long before urine therapy. And as it turned out, now I didn't realize it at the time, um, that I thought I had just sprained my ankle. And so I had this one of those Velcro kind of, you know, slip-on boots, you know, that you can then tighten it
Hmm.
up with a Velcro. They're kind of a like a temporary casting, so to speak. And so I just proceeded with my life. I mean, I was doing a lot of construction. I just kept working, and you know, but the it wasn't going away, and so I had no insurance and I really had no money, but I had an artist friend whose husband was a doctor, and he agreed to x-ray me. And this was about 3 weeks, 4 weeks in. And so I went to his clinic after he closed, and he went in and x-rayed me. And what I had learned is that, yes, I had broken it, but what I was doing was healing it. And I was doing everything correctly to heal it naturally. And so, you know, I had a direct experience with that. So I agree. I mean, the body is an amazing instrument, you know, and the urine therapy just accelerates the healing process no matter what. Those compresses are going in and doing like direct energy healing, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, though, the body, and we should know this. We should intuitively know this, that the body, what it wants to do all the time is to keep itself at working perfect condition all the time. Yeah, we know that if we cut ourselves, the first thing it does is heal itself over. Yeah, if you break a bone, it will automatically, even if you don't do anything, yeah, it will reorient itself and then heal back into place. Yeah,
Right.
if you cut a part of your finger off, it will regrow. Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm convinced that if you cut an entire limb off, yeah, it will regrow. But this is what the body does. It's just that we've been brainwashed into believing that the body is this imperfect, unevolved, yeah, machine that cannot do anything without medical intervention, which is way, way, way far from the truth. Yeah, it's just a medical intervention that is actually hindering the body from doing its job.
Yeah. Angelia, hi there. She says, has anyone asked about Ormus? There's some Ormus for you, darling. My collector. And tell us your point of view about Ormus, Dave, and how valuable it is.
To be honest, I have no information about Ormus at all. It's not something I've even looked into. Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard people
I do.
sort of say a few things about it.
Well, both Monica, and especially Rosalind Hanson, she is really profoundly aware of its properties because she's had her Ormus. She works with a analyst in Australia, and she's had that analyzed several times, and she's proven their true alchemy, that there's gold in there, along with a lot of other metals, but gold and silver and other properties from the periodic table are in our urine. That's why we can honestly call it the golden elixir, because it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
well,
quite amazing.
That kind of goes with what I say in my book, because what I found looking at experiments from the 1700s is that our bodies manufacture everything it could possibly need internally, in the same way that a tree manufactures wood from sunlight. Yeah.
Yes.
What the tree is doing is condensing sunlight into, like slowing it down at a particular frequency of wood, and creates wood. Yeah, we're doing exactly the same. Our bodies condense sunlight into whatever frequency it needs, frequency of substance that it needs. So yes, it can produce gold, it can produce silver, it can produce magnesium and calcium and all those other things, and it doesn't need food or supplements to supply it.
Right. Well, it's photosynthesis, in its simplest term. Now, yeah,
and it
thank
was,
you, Lisa.
sorry, and it
Somebody
was
has asked
proved.
me, yes, you know, I mean, in man's higher consciousness, and he doesn't even talk about urine therapy, Hilton Hotemus.
No?
Urine isn't even a part of his conversation, you know. But
Wow.
there's a brilliant read, you know. I mean, that's a brilliant read on what you can understand, you know. And you're the one who led me to that book, you know. You led me to a lot of the knowledge I have. I commend you for that. I mean, different books that I have went ahead and bought were because of I hearing you mention them, and I was, oh, what about that? What about that? And so, yeah, I made quite a collection of books to expand my knowledge, you know, and I keep them and
That's
I
great.
reread them. I've read your book. I've read your book at least 6 times, 7 times, easily.
Oh,
You know, just to
wow. Okay.
refresh. Just well, and I find it entertaining, you know, as well. You know, I mean, if the title alone doesn't capture you, you know, something's wrong with you. You know.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, yeah,
Oh, you were saying about
so,
Lisa.
what's that?
You were saying about Lisa had a question or something.
Oh, yeah, she was asking about the Orimus, but somebody put it right up, orimusalchemy.com. You know, she can go find that information, you know, rather than go back into it now. But it is
Okay.
I'll just show it again. This is the residual that comes out of your urine, you know, and if when you age urine, you can see it. It settles right into the bottom of the container. You can see what it is, you know. It's the true alchemy. Is Rosalind calls it the alchemist stone. That you can when you dry it out and rinse it with fresh urine. And she learned this through Rama, that you rinse it 3 times with fresh urine and then let it, at that point, dry. And then it crystallizes and it becomes an actual, like an alchemy. And you can, that's what she sends in for the analytics. And, you know, that's amazing shit right there. You
What
know, I mean,
what
when
can
you
you
see
do
it
with it though?
graphically. Well, you can form it actually, like the sorcerer's stone. You know, the mythical alchemy.
Mm.
You know, of turning lead into gold. All those things. Once you put this into perspective with urine, it makes complete sense. It just makes complete sense. It's not something out there. It's something in here.
Well, that's quite funny,
My
really,
battery's
because
low. I got
if
to plug my phone in. Hang on. I don't want to
okay,
lose anything. Yeah, we're good.
all right,
I got
all
my
right.
thing plugged
Well,
in. I'll just handhold it.
okay. The funny thing was that before I found urine therapy, I found a book called The Book of Aquarius, and it was about how to make the Philosopher's Stone. Yeah. Um, and the very first thing it said was that you use urine, you use human urine, and and you kind of distill it down, and you keep distilling it over and over again, and then you eventually make this magical stone with you know, magical properties. And that was before I found urine therapy. So I went out and I actually bought all the equipment to actually start making this stuff. But as soon as I got the equipment together, that's when I found urine therapy. And that's when I started to realize that what the Book of Aquarius was actually describing was the process of looping. And, you know, we were the experiment. We were the producers of the Philosopher's Stone. Oh, hang on. Oh, sorry, somebody's actually calling me on my. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna have to stop this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yes, it was. That's actually somebody who wants some help, and it's calls all the time. Yeah, I'm expecting other calls as well to come in. Yeah, so yeah, it was a shock at that time to realise that you know, it's you know, the process that I've been focused on and trying to get all this equipment for, yeah, my own body was doing that at the time.
Yeah.
But once I realised that I long life, that was one of the magical properties of the stone. Well, I thought, well, that's what urine therapy is doing for me. It's giving me longer life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me this ormus is essentially the philosopher's stone.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing: is that, you know, throughout history, you know, including you know, Bible and whatever. I mean, the information about urine is hidden in plain sight. There's metaphorics and parables and riddles and, you know, ideas that are there for us to be aware, you know, and understand
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, that we have everything we need. You know, everything has been shown to us if we actually see through the veil, because so much of it
Yeah.
is deception and misinformation. You know, we're being led away from the true source of our natural, healthy being in order to support bad food, bad water, bad chemicals, bad drugs, you know, the whole 9 yards. It's by design. And unless we wake up, we're going to fall right into that pit, you know. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's why I trust what you're doing, what I'm doing, what so many are doing. You know, is just opening the window, opening the blinds, you know, taking people into a new understanding, a higher dimension of what is literally hiding within you, waiting, screaming at you to be let out. That child, that creative, that enthusiastic, that wonderful, marvelous person that's been hiding out in shame and guilt and jealousy and fear and condemnation and, you know, sarcasm and all that bullshit that has limited our, you know, total ability to realize our own magnificence. And I trust that that's
I see.
exactly why you take the time, you know, and I take the time to really honor people and respect them and listen to them and support them in a loving way.
Exactly. But more fundamentally than that is that this knowledge has the ability to free you from fear whatsoever. Yeah, whatever fears that this society gives you, because, you know, with one thing, this just urine therapy, you have no fear of you know, not having clean water. You have no fear of not having any food. You have no fear of getting sick. Yeah, you have no fear of being bitten by a poisonous snake. You know, you've got no fear of anything. Yeah, no fear of chemtrails, because you know that even if you're breathing in this stuff, yeah, your body's now so efficient at eliminating stuff that, so what? It's coming out of you. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So
and I
it just
refer to it.
removes fear.
I was just going to say, I lovingly refer to it as my pea coat, my protective pea coat.
There was one other thing that when I was doing the breatharian experiment, and I'm not sure, you know, I documented it slightly, but I'm not sure if it's real. That when I was doing that experiment, I went through it. There's a period when it was really, really cold out, and I live, you know, off grid, and I'm in a motorhome, okay. And while I was doing the breatharian experiment, and I think it was while I was not even drinking water, it was really, really cold, and I had no heating at that point. And I got out of bed and didn't realize it was cold. I had no I didn't feel cold, even though it was literally I was breathing and you know, I could see my breath. You know, I had no clothes on. I got out of bed, no clothes on, and I wasn't cold. And I didn't explore this further. I should have really done some experimentation, but it felt like that because I'd unburdened myself of food and what have you. I wasn't feeling the cold anymore. I wasn't being affected by it. So I was just thinking that would be one more amazing property that we have about ourselves that we could unlock with urine therapy. You know, unlock by removing ourselves from this society and its poisons. Yeah.
Yes.
So then you don't even have to have shelter.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned in the earlier portion in part one, you know, about the EMFs and the microwaves, the chemtrails. They're all working in unison, and there's a deliberate intent to poison us on multiple levels. And you know, that's why I want to be as obvious and present and accountable with this knowledge as I can every moment in every way, because it is a protective shield. It is a protective peacoat. And, you know, the more you raise your frequency and understand that you are naturally protected if you understand how to use the protection that you're given. And we will be the ones standing.
I was just going to say that you just reminded me something of when you said EMF. I did back in 2012. I did a radio show about cancer, and I was basically laying out what I'd found out about cancer at that point, and it was the work of 3 doctors. Okay, there was a Dr. John Beard who discovered that cancer cells are identical to what they call trophoblastic cells, which are the cells that start forming the womb wall when a woman gets pregnant. Yeah, so these cells like multiply crazily to quickly form the womb wall, and cancer cells are identical to those cells, according to John Beard. Right? There was a doctor called Dr. Otto Warburg, who won the Nobel Prize for medicine in 1931 because he discovered that cancer is actually a natural defense system, a healing system for when there was low oxygen in the body. Okay, and that when your body is acidic, it stops your cells from uptaking oxygen. So your cells start to die, essentially, start to suffocate. And cancer is essentially a last ditch attempt to keep the body alive, you know, that's suffocating. And so there was that, and then there was a Dr. Ernst T. Krebs who discovered that estrogen plays a part in this. When you injure yourself, the body responds by pumping large amounts of estrogen to the site of the injury, and that somehow in cancer patients, somehow when that estrogen comes into contact with stem cells, certain stem cells, then those stem cells are triggered somehow into turning into those trophoblastic cells, and then that's cancer, right? And in that talk, I go on to talk about Dr. Bruce Lipton. I don't know, I can't remember how I connected it in, but I start talking about Dr. Bruce Lipton, and I played in that talk a section of his one of his talks, The Biology of Belief. And it was just recently that I don't know, something led me to listen to it again. And I listened to it again. I got to Dr. Bruce Lipton's part, And I actually listened to what he was saying. And what came out of that was that the missing piece of the puzzle on how cancer worked, right? Dr. Bruce Lipton actually just said it. And I must have missed it all those years ago. So what he said was that under this electromagnetic radiation that we're all under, when you get stressed, the moment you get stressed, that electromagnetic radiation starts altering hormones, especially estrogen. So when you put all that together, what the process you get is that the food corporations and society in general that's managed by these elite have forced us into eating a completely acidic diet, which lays the foundation for cancer. Yeah? You have to have an acidic body chemistry to get cancer. Yeah, so everybody has the precursor to cancer on the standard diet. Yeah, everyone has the precursor for cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's only if you injure yourself in some way. So if you smoke, you're injuring your lungs. If you drink heavily, you're injuring your kidneys. If you whatever injury you get, the body pumps lots of estrogen to that site to help repair, what the damage is. But if you're stressed and you're in an electromagnetic bath, yeah, all of a sudden that estrogen triggers the stem cells into turning into cancer. So it's like a 4-part biological weapon, so that you can't blame anyone because all the parts are disparate, and it seems to be random because you have to have all 4 parts in play before you get it. So it's an amazing biological weapon, and it was deliberately engineered that way.
Yes.
So now, if you realize that all you need to do, I'm not going to say that there's a cure for cancer, because that would mean I would come under the 1939 Cancer Act, and I could be imprisoned. Yeah, because I will not tell you. I cannot tell you that there is a cure for cancer. I won't tell you. No, there is not. No, I can't say that. Right. But if you did something about your acidic body, yeah, then the precursor for cancer, can't happen, because and the way you change that is just by having an alkaline diet. Yeah, eventually, if you switch to an alkaline diet, then your body becomes alkaline rather than acidic. And the other thing is stress. Get rid of that television. That television is a stress inducer. That's most of what it does. Stop watching or stop reading newspapers. Stop stressing yourself over these artificial things in your life. Yeah, because when you step back from it, you realize that all these stresses are artificial. Yeah, to do with things in the construct that have no real, relation to the real world.
Exactly.
So, and the EMF thing is difficult to get out of. But again, if you're not stressed in this EMF bath that we're in, then it's not going to affect you. Yeah, because as it says, Bruce Lipton says, it only affects you if you're stressed, and those hormones, then can be altered by the EMF. So, eliminate stress as much as possible from your life, and it cannot take hold of you.
Right. Well, when you mentioned the acidic, no, you're making perfect sense. And as you were making your references to the acidic and alkaline experience in the body, now I was totally acidic, totally. Heavy drinker. Lots of juice. Absolutely no consciousness about what I was putting in my body. So, big surprise that I was just totally calcified at every level, which just spurned on my arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, and all these other elements. So when I first started actually even paying attention and understanding even what I was doing to my body is when I chose to become a vegan. So I started opening up a different channel of thinking about my diet. And so I really started paying a lot of attention to alkalining my body. And so I started getting test strips and stuff and started noticing a dramatic change, especially when I dropped the food like the meats and the dairy, and then quit drinking and all the juice and all that. I mean, I started feeling a dramatic change. But all in all, even after a couple of years of that transition, I was still in chronic pain. I was still experiencing all of the challenges that I was dealing with for the most of my entire life. They were still there. I was still taking tons of meds. So it wasn't until the urine therapy that my body actually finally, ultimately started resolving all of those internal issues. And so dramatically that I stopped taking meds after the first 2 weeks, and I haven't touched them since. Just haven't touched them. It just disappeared. And I was doing handfuls 3 times a day, So, I'm a true testament to how powerful, they understanding. It's important to understand, people need to educate themselves on what they're actually doing to their body. And you're totally correct about the stress. Eliminating all of these outside influences is really critical, and to really pay attention to what you're actually putting in your body as well as what you're putting into your mind. But they're both equally powerful tools that can be used ultimately against you, or if you choose, can be used to empower you, which is what I choose. This is bliss.
I've just seen a question. I've just seen a question from Candy about alkaline water. Thing is about alkaline water, and I can't speak for all of them, is I've tested a couple with my TDS meter, and they've come out as extremely dirty. And I'm not entirely sure that this alkaline water is actually any good for you. If anybody actually wants to make their water alkaline, they can just squeeze a bit of lemon in there, squeeze a little lemon juice into distilled water,
right.
and
yeah,
there you go. You've got alkalizing water. But
yeah,
as far as
it's funny
this
how
shop bought stuff.
It's just funny how lemon, being so citric, and you would think it would be highly acidic, has just the opposite effect when you put it in water and put it in your body. It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Totally alkaline.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. So, but I would probably stay away from these alkaline water products. But at the very least, or a thing you could do is just get yourself a TDS meter and test it yourself. See how dirty it is. Distilled water is 0, so it's perfectly clean. So and I think the worst water I found was in North London, and it came out at 650 parts per million of stuff. So there's So there's the benchmark there,
Might as well be in Flint, Michigan.
Yes, exactly. I tell you, you might as well actually drink from a dirty puddle, because that's probably cleaner,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, this has been so awesome, Dave. What a privilege to spend time with you like this today. I mean, really, what an honor. I just so love you, brother.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're just you're such a good soul. And
thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Oh gosh, in such a big way. And I know for me, I've got hours and hours and hours and hours of work ahead of me to process these shows and get them, downloaded and then re-uploaded into YouTube and, blah, 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 and that's all good. It's just my process. So, I want to just see if there's any last questions or if there's anything on your heart or mind that you want to, bring forth because we're going on like, well, you and I have been over 2 hours and um,
Have we?
so or an hour, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The time is incidental, but I know I got my homework ahead of me when we're done.
Right. This is what I'm saying about time. It's just zipping past. Yeah, it doesn't feel like I've been on here for even an hour yet. So yeah, it just zips past, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it worked out beautifully the way it did, and that I went ahead and, the first one I just called part one. And when we, started again and finally found you out there, it's part two. So it's all good, it's all good. I just love it. I do.
Oh,
I love this whole process.
I just noticed in the chat that it was actually Lana who asked about the broken bones. Lana is one of the people who has had a wonderful transformation on urine therapy as well. Yeah, she's one person you should talk to as well. But yeah, there's I'm noticing a few people in the chat who've been transformed by urine therapy, and the great thing is that again you become an expert, right? You become an
Yeah.
expert, and you become more knowledgeable than these people who call themselves doctors.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And, that's the whole thing is being a practitioner. As we practice, we proceed. Yeah. It looks like you froze up, Dave. We may have lost Dave. Uh, I don't know. He's frozen on my screen, and, I don't know. But before I'm through, that's good. But no, he's out. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for your love, your support, your listening ear, and your participation, your comments, your questions. It's all been a real privilege. It's just an honor to share this time. It's been an honor to share this day with Dave. My 1 year anniversary, I couldn't have asked for a greater gift. And man, yeah, I just love you all so dearly. So I'm going to just, a couple of reminders. Friday night on Lola Live, which is a YouTube channel, I'm going to be her guest for a couple hours. And she's a real delight, a real charmer. Dave was on there several weeks ago, which is how I found her. I am going to be continuing my Saturday morning Casey Caban Live question and answer. And that's Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I welcome you to join me if you care to. It's informal and questions and answers. Next Monday, I'm going to be on the radio in Europe with Brian Smith. And that's a real honor, and I'm looking forward to that. And next Tuesday, we have Rosalind Hanson, Linda Maris, and Nancy Fox joining us to talk about organic gardening with urine. And if you choose, if you care to, I lovingly accept your donations. If you would like a signed and numbered copy of the ORIN Oracles Book 1. Dave wants to come back, apparently. Let's see what happens. Yep, we're going to add him back in. And so, yeah, if you go to paypal.me/WEEDU, $25 donation will get you a guaranteed signed and numbered copy, and you will be included in the acknowledgments in the book as well, with love. So Dave's coming back. He disappeared there for a minute, but I'm sure he has closing comments. So we're going to wait patiently as he gets uploaded back in. So if you want to hang with us still here for another moment or two, I'd like to have Dave have his closing comments as well. And I think I've covered everything from my end. He is connecting now. So let's give Dave a moment, and we'll let him have the floor to conclude this broadcast today. Yeah. So yeah, he is connecting. That's what my prompter says, that he is connecting. So he is down in St. Lucia in the Caribbean. So you may have noticed that there's a bit of a delay in, him and I hearing each other in the conversation. And I think we handled it pretty well, without walking all over each other. So, I had to learn that one the hard way with my broadcast with Doc Precise, because we had such a poor connection. We couldn't really, the delay was really long. And so we were walking all over each other in that broadcast, but we managed to make it work one way or the other. So it still says Dave's connecting. So I'm going to give it another few moments and see what happens here. And, I don't know if he lost signal or what happened, why he disappeared. He just froze up and vanished. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to give him a couple moments here. I don't want to, walk out without him. I'd like to hear his closing statements for this broadcast. So anyway, all of you lovely ladies, Venice, Michelle, Diana, Dawn, Lana, there's just endless beautiful people out there. I'm only mentioning you because you're in the bottom of the comment list right now that I could see. So I really do thank everybody. I really do. I just appreciate everybody's loving support and willingness to hang out with us on this Tuesday afternoon. And well, I don't know where I know Venice is in Australia, right? So God knows what time it is there. And I know we have friends that have been visiting the broadcast from Europe and, from different spots all over. So, we appreciate your time, coming in at whatever hours that you are finding your way to this broadcast. And, Dave's still it's just in the queue. It says it's connecting. And he may just have may have had an interrupted signal, and that's why it's not reconnecting. I can't say. I don't know. And so Wednesday morning here in New Zealand, says Dawn. So there you go, folks. It's it just shows you how time has no time. It doesn't really matter, And that's why I just do the show when I do, because I do. So, I think that we're just going to have to leave it alone. My feeling is that Dave had a bad connection, and somehow that's why his image just froze up and he disappeared. I did do every prompt in queue, and it says he's connecting, but it could be a bad signal. He said that there was some weather going on there. That could have something to do with it. I don't know. But I'm going to just give it another moment or two, and I'll just read this one comment from Candy. It says, Dave, my children say they will do UT for life because they want to be like you. Isn't that special? We all really enjoyed meeting you and being in your beautiful presence. You're a beautiful soul. So, yeah, thank you, Candy. We're all beautiful souls. All you have to do is look inside and realize, that's it. You just have to discover for yourself. And yeah, thank you. I printed this shirt. Angela, she loves my shirt. Piss is bliss. I created 3 shirts actually. The other one's it says, what does it say? One of them says the High Vibe Tribe, and the other one is Glow with the Flow, Recycle Your Orange. But I have several other ones that I intend to develop in time. It's just, there's just so many things on my plate. And, I just have to take it one day at a time and prioritize. So, hey there, Eric. I hope you got my message. Like to like to secure something if we can. So at this point, I am going to wrap it up because I think Dave just has a bad signal. He can't. It just doesn't seem to be connecting, and I don't want to just sit here and patter. So I love you all dearly. Thanks again for joining us, and may the force be with you. Wear your peacoats, folks. Go to that higher frequency. You'll be glad you did. All right. Always keep your peace together, and have a beautiful, wonderful, marvelous day wherever you are. And boom, you've just been loved by Dave and I both. Ciao for now.